Pedro Bados joins us, CEO of Nexthink. Pedro, I've been to enough conferences and there's been enough debates going on about how to close the gap between Silicon Valley and Europe. And one of the arguments has been that the investment by government is actually quite key. It's not so much private money that puts the tech sector out in front, it's government support. What would you say about that?
Yes, well, I mean, in Europe we have one of the oldest, some of the oldest engineering companies. So actually, European companies, we tend to become international very fast. So that's why there is a huge potential that has been untapped in European companies to become global leaders. So I see it very naturally.
Ecosystem's quite key too. If you look at Silicon Valley, there's such a hub of technology innovation across various different sectors. They'll tap into each other, and it's very easy for the venture capitalists also to work out which companies to invest in. In recent years, Europe has become quite similar. You hop into a taxi in France or in Paris, and suddenly everybody's a tech entrepreneur, a little bit like in Lisbon and the same thing in Berlin. Is this starting to come together where there's a fabric, an ecosystem where we can see continents band together to compete against Silicon Valley, against the Americans?
Yes, I think you are touching a very good point. I mean, here in Europe we have amazing schools, we have very good engineers. What we were missing, this critical factor of having pools of excellence, like Silicon Valley, like New York, like Boston. Right now we are seeing emerging this pool of new companies in Switzerland, in Paris, in London, and in Berlin. And then when there is enough critical mass, we'll see these global leaders emerging. And this is what we are seeing today.
Rafael, jump in on this.
Well, I mean, overall, if you step back, if you look at the situation in the US versus the European Union, tell me if you disagree, but, you know, the financing of new ventures and new startups is entirely different. I mean, even, you know, the financing in the US is 80% credit market and 20% private market, while in the EU it's the opposite. So you still have a lot of room to change the way the financing of the economy works in the EU. So I mean, these kind of initiatives are actually quite interesting. Yeah.
Look, I think we have a huge problem, and I admire the optimism around this desk, and I'm as proud a European as anyone, but we have a huge problem, and it's come up time and time again with debates that we've had with guests as well. Europe isn't just lagging Silicon Valley. Europe isn't just lagging Asia. Europe isn't just lagging Israel. It failed categorically to break into the top 100 or 500 tech companies beyond a small handful. You mentioned one or two of those Dassault Systèmes type names as well. We have a systemic problem in this continent. Yes. Why?
Well, we tend to see this like an investment problem, like a money problem. And I think we have to start with talent. It's all about people. If we don't have the right talent, if we don't have people that they have been successful in many companies, they have made companies public in a few times, then there will not be investment. So money, I think, is following success. So I think we have to start with people, and we have to create this pool of talents in Europe.
But Pedro, very quickly on that one for me before Karen jumps in as well. If we produce 1,000 brilliant technology engineers, the Chinese can produce 100,000. They are churning out smart, internet savvy, coding savvy, 21st century technology savvy people at a multiple that we can only dream of here in Europe.
Yes. Let me clarify. When I say talent, I don't mean engineers. I mean people who have been successful. They know how to scale companies. CEOs, C-level executives, that they put some companies in the public market a few times. That's what I mean, talent.
Can we talk about the level of support that would be required in Europe? I mean if you put in France and tech taxes, or you come up with this recent digital tax on the big companies, but it doesn't give you that many articles first up about the amount of support the French government has provided for tech entrepreneurs, lowering what the rate that entrepreneurs pay, providing access for startups. What's the formula for success to create that ecosystem we were talking about earlier?
I think there are a few elements. Well, first of all, we are improving a lot. As we said, in the last 10 years, we start to see major successes, right? There are a few companies in Europe, they are public, and then these entrepreneurs will create other successful companies.
What does it take? I mean, I've seen some of the initiatives with 250,000 euros that you get if you're an entrepreneur and you go to some countries. I mean, that's fantastic. That works, doesn't it?
It works, but for me, it's not really a financial problem. I mean, if we look at the regulation in the US, it's not financially more attractive than in Europe, from my point of view. It's just that there are more critical mass, so there's more investment because there is more chances to be successful. So I think it's very important that we continue investing in a few in a few series in which we can create these companies that they can become more and more successful. The engineers are there, the entrepreneurs are there. We just need to focus and have more success.
Pedro, thank you very much. Pedro Bados with us, CEO of Nexthink.